Hi Capricorn, welcome to your end of January 2019 General Tarot Update. I'm Raina. This deck that I am using is called the Druid Craft deck, and I've been enjoying bringing this back out because it is very similar to Rider-Waite. So if you're familiar with that deck, which is kind of the standard bearer, and what's great about that is that of all the decks that I've owned, but like the Morgan Greer deck that I use is also like this. You can really connect with the cards, I feel, because they say what they mean and mean what they say. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Some decks, even if you know what the cards are supposed to symbolize, you're sitting there and you're scratching your head and saying, okay, now how do you get this from that meaning? And there might be that the person hasn't noted, or, figured out, but still, I don't think it should be that much work. And I think people appreciate it when it really does seem to correspond with the cards. So just that's one of the reasons why I enjoy this deck. But I don't use it as often as the other ones, just because, I've just gotten used to the Morgan Greer deck, I think, but I do like a Rider-Waite deck too. So the heart of the matter is the Two of Swords, which is a card of being at the horns of a dilemma, perhaps having to make a choice, being at a crossroads, and they depict it as a crossroads. I think this is such an amazing illustration here. And see that pop of red of her scarf or whatever that garment is, and also the well-worn paths and the old gnarled tree, just lovely. And this could also be with you and another person. So you may be having to negotiate something with someone, and neither of you are giving an inch, and that can be really frustrating, and it can keep you in a state of inertia, so to speak, because you're not moving forward. It can be a situation where when you're trying to decide something, you're not really looking at it in an honest way. I noticed with this card that since she's got her back to us, you see tied around her head there's some kind of a scarf or what have you. In the Rider-Waite Morgan Greer deck, they show a woman who's blindfolded. And to me, and I think the interpretation I read, is that she is somebody who is refusing to see the truth. And maybe that's why she's having a hard time deciding about something, because she's really not engaging it honestly. It's almost like acting like you have this decision that is so hard to make, when in fact it is easier than you're making it out to be. And so that's a possibility that I was thinking, like when you choose between two people, sometimes I get clients where they are looking at two different people and they want to know which one to pick. Of course, I never tell anybody what to do, but I do examine their astrological information. And basically what I tend to say, even though, I might go into the specifics of their astrology, is if you really can't decide between both of them, probably neither one are the right person, because usually people are not that interchangeable where it's just like this or that. Usually one person should have an advantage in your heart. Now, maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe some people are so evolved that they don't allow any kind of sentimentality to get the best of them, and they're just looking strictly at assets that the people possess. But I don't know. I think there's some kind of indefinable things that tip the balance in one direction or the other. So that's where the blindfold comes in. Maybe if it is two people, you're overly idealizing one person and putting them on par with the other. Or, just not even realizing that you need time to be alone. Maybe you're just thinking, oh, I have these two possible relationships. I have to pick one. Heaven forbid I should be alone for a while. And that could be what is not what you should be doing. So let's just keep going. The past position is the wheel. Now, this is the Wheel of Fortune. They call it the wheel here. And what a interesting illustration as well. And she's holding something in her hand that looks like another type of wheel. And this card, the Wheel of Fortune, connects to the planet Jupiter, which currently is in Sagittarius, your 12th house, Capricorn. So this may be helping you in a very subtle way. But, the other thing too, I wonder sometimes thinking of Jupiter, because at the end of 2019, Jupiter is going to go into your sign in December. So you have something to look forward to. So it could be, this is in the past position though. So I'm associating it with something that maybe some kind of alignment that has occurred in your life where you, because it's in the upright position, this card. So maybe this is work related and you're so successful that now you have more than one option. And, it's kind of funny how that works, isn't it? That you try to become successful and you start to just kind of gel, and then you have to choose because you have other offers, you have other possibilities in your life. And so even though you're experiencing more success, you're also maybe experiencing more confusion about what's coming your way. What should I do? And who knows, maybe it has to do with even, leaving your area, moving, relocating across your country, or you're going to another country. And so maybe it's not as, the choice is much more deep than I'm giving it credit for. Maybe it has the potential of really changing your life. And so that's what makes it so difficult. And with the Wheel of Fortune, if you have been single and all of a sudden you have had relationship offers, or offers for love, and when you had a big drought before, you might be just throwing up your hands in exasperation and saying, it's either feast or famine with me. What's going on here? Well, another astrological transit that's going to, trigger something that happened last spring, or I should say May, is that Uranus is going back into Taurus. This is your 5th house of romance. So it's very important starting in March for the next, 2/3 of a decade, 7 years or so, that you keep yourself open for love to come from anywhere at any time. And so with the Wheel of Fortune, we're talking about cycles in life. And sometimes, and so it's not that, talking about predictable cycles, like, for instance, Saturn. Yeah, maybe that's what it's talking about as well. Saturn is in your sign. And so this enhances your professional, your ambitions, and anything that you're trying to do that promotes you in the world. But the opposite house is the 4th house of home and family. Maybe that's where the dilemma lies. Like, I want to just see how far I can go career-wise, and yet I don't want to neglect my family, you know, something like that. So, but Uranus in the 5th house starting in March can also unexpectedly bring people into your life of a romantic variety. So if you are trying to choose now between two people, you ain't seen nothing yet. So you're going to have to be on the lookout for that. And if you're not interested, if you're happily married, then that's not an issue. That may affect you in a different way. But anyway, yeah, so with Saturn, that might be what the wheel represents, is the cycle of Saturn in your sign. And how does that affect your private life? Or your marriage too, like if you're married, because that actually, since Saturn is in your sign, that means that the 7th house has the sign of Cancer, your opposite sign, and the North Node is there. So there could be somebody that comes into your life who is your soulmate, and yet you are currently married. So, you know, I don't want to get too far into this in terms of relationship, but I just wanted to put it out there because your sign, yeah, maybe that's the wheel too, with all of the eclipses. You had eclipse in your sign in the earlier part of the month, and a lot of change, and that creates situations that come up for you to decide about. Okay, I was going to pick the other card first. The higher message is strength, and I was laughing when I got this for another sign. I was saying, what is that? Warthog or something. Usually it's supposed to be a lion. So the strength card is associated with Leo. This is the higher message card. So if you have a Leo loved one who has crossed over, this person may be sending you messages. This can be, we have a lunar eclipse in Leo. This could be a timing card, divine timing. So let's see here. That looks like that would be your 8th house. So that could be something with shared resources. That could be with the lunar eclipse in Leo. That could be an inheritance or something like that. But in terms of how it affects you in your spiritual walk, the strength card could be saying that you are in a good position, that you are mentally and spiritually strong to deal with the fallout of anything that comes along. It's interesting because I was just, watching a video, I think it was, about making choices but trusting the universe, and just all the times when I have listened to Abraham Hicks material, one of the things that they say is that you can never get it wrong. So in other words, you can never make the wrong decision. Well, that's hard to believe sometimes. It's hard to make decisions based on that you can't get it wrong. It's certainly comforting, but it feels like it's not true sometimes, because let's face it, we know when we do something and then we instantly regret it, or maybe we regret it later and we say, I should have done the other thing. I made the wrong choice, because we see the fallout from our decision. Now, it may not ruin your life, but in some cases, people have had, really bad repercussions from their decisions. I understand cosmically what they mean. I'm just saying that to have that strength of will, which I think could be here with the strength card for you, and to be able to not be afraid, it does take a lot. But it's worth noting. It's worth noting that, that right now you may be feeling very confident, and that, is likely to help you attract more good stuff to you. And so don't be afraid. If you've really deliberated about something and you haven't been negligent, you've really tried to make the right decision, I think that you can do so. And that you should have faith in your ability to, have the vision, the good sense to make the right decision about something. What crosses you is represented by the Four of Cups. And you know what I think? It's so funny. Now, this is a good depiction of it too, because this is a card, you can see the person's face. They are not very thrilled, enthused with their situation, whatever that may mean to them. Now, cups denote emotions. So we're talking about your feelings towards a certain situation. This could be a person who is either a Scorpio, Cancer, your opposite sign, or Pisces. That's another possibility. But one thing that I think that's funny with the Four of Cups in the challenge position is actually, in my feeling, because I think a lot of Capricorns are quite stoic, is that you may make the mistake of tolerating a situation which really is not doing it for you, not revving you up, enthusing you, tolerating it longer than you should, simply because you don't want to have to upset your life. You feel like you're on a roll career-wise. You don't, if this is a personal matter. And by the way, this could be a career, like I said earlier. I mean, this could be like deciding between two career paths or job offers. And you may discard your boredom. And you may think that that's frivolous, which it is absolutely not frivolous. If you are somebody, in other words, what I'm trying to say, Capricorn, is that you may discount your feelings as not being relevant in your choice. And you should not do that. Your feelings are everything. Money is not everything. Your feelings are everything simply because if you are not happy or interested or inspired where you are, there's no way you can really put your soul into what you're doing. And by the way, I'm not talking about some big time professional endeavor. I mean, we could be talking about, being a barista, and not to say, oh, that's a lowly occupation, but something that, you don't have to go to school for. You can just, walk in and get trained and do it. And people don't necessarily seem to give it the same respect that they give somebody who's a lawyer, for instance. But you know what? It still is providing service to others. So it's part of the path of service. Okay? And no matter what it is that a person does, they can put their heart and soul in it, or they can just mail it in. So whether you're a barista, or you're a lawyer, or whether you are a parent, that's another thing. Are you happy doing what you're doing? Now, if you're a parent, you can't take your kids back and say, you know what, I decided I don't want to do this after all. So maybe in that particular case, you need to, if you are somebody who must stay home with your children, and I don't think that's such a bad thing, but if for you it isn't your cup of tea, then you know, and they are a certain age, maybe they're too young to be, you don't want to put them until they go into school, you don't want to have anybody else take care of them, then you have to find it within yourself to be inspired to do this. And that comes, so maybe in that particular case, a person might be saying, I feel like I have to go back to work and delegate this task to somebody else, but you are really not wanting to have your children taken care of by somebody else. And you should honor that gut feeling, because that may be trying to tell you something. And yet, if you find that it's too boring for you, that might be your own hang-up, your own indoctrination, that it was somehow bad when it really wasn't. That's one of the reasons I use an example of a barista, because people do tend to pigeonhole others based on what they do, their occupation. They rank them. Capricorns are the ones who do this. That's the funny thing, the irony about me talking about this. And it really doesn't matter what you do. That, you know, if you only give your all when you're doing something that you think other people are impressed by, then it's just conditional service. Service comes when you relinquish the ego. And that is easier said than done, that's for sure. What's coming in is the Seven of Wands, and this is a card of standing your ground. This may be, I even think of this card, and I don't know, let me see if my Tarot Plain and Simple, I want to see if they say anything about strategizing. I know Seven of Swords is like that. I want to see what they say about this. Well, yeah, I mean, what I said before about standing your ground is pretty much what they talk about, like holding your own against opposition. But it's also sometimes about being determined. So going back to that Strength card, I like how they say taking the bull by the horns. Now, there may be a situation where you're thinking of leaving a company, maybe, because you feel like you're under assault. And you may just decide, hey, I'm not going anywhere. They're gonna have to fire me. I'm staying right here. So it may be just that you become quite defiant about something. And the same with, like, if this is, let's say it's a custody battle or something like that, where you're at loggerheads. You may be tempted to give in, but it may not be indicated for you. You may decide, no, I'm not going to allow this person to run roughshod over me. So it is a card of defense, but it's a card of strength as well. And this can connect to fire energy once again. So perhaps there is a Leo person, the other fire signs, which I think even more than Leo, I'm just going by the Strength card, but Aries is to me the one that you end up most with. I don't know, I haven't done a survey, but it's a cardinal sign, and Sagittarius. The outcome is the Magician. Now, what I like about this card is, you see that it's number 1. And this is a card of self-empowerment. So it could be that you have to hold the fort, so to speak, but that is the last stand, your last stand. And maybe your ultimate decision is to leave a particular place where you are. Maybe you have to kind of stand your ground for a while, but you eventually realize that you don't need that crap in your life, for lack of a better word, because the Magician card is about resourcefulness and self-empowerment. So let's say you have a certain type of knowledge base because of your profession. You may decide to become a consultant and take that knowledge and become autonomous and, choose your own hours, choose your own clients, and not have to deal with some kind of corporate structure. Who knows? There might be a lot that you didn't like about what you were doing. In a personal relationship, you might find, as I said at the beginning, that you're better off just being by yourself, and that you feel okay about it now. Maybe at the beginning you didn't feel okay, and now you feel like you can do it. You feel stronger, and that makes you more autonomous, independent. That's what I'm getting at here. So, very interesting reading for the end of January, Capricorn. I hope you enjoyed this. If you'd like a personal reading, the link to my site is below. Have a great rest of the month. Bye.